If you have 15 people in a company that are managing everything in Excel spreadsheets and then you put 20, it's like you're just putting more people in the middle of the chaos. If I'm focusing on something, let me try and create systems and structure. I have the same output, but then I can dedicate to two other things. So the road to excellence is not perfectionism, it's continuous improvement.
What are some of the best or most powerful no-code tools that you see on the market right now?
The one that I'm not deeply technical. So the one that I like to use the most is Airtable because I find it amazing. Like the fact that you can have like databases like looking like a spreadsheet and then create interfaces on top of it, like for creating custom like internal tools and like to manage like there's so many businesses that like in 1 or 2 weeks building an Airtable application, they would save so many hours from their workforce. It's insane, and I think like the level of customization and change that you can do, it's incredible. And then with make.com to do the automations or Zapier, then it becomes very very powerful. But those tools, because they are so easy to use, they also have a lot of limitations, so like they have a lot of guardrails. So the ones that we use the most at the moment and that we think are more powerful is WeWeb for front end, Zyno for back end, and then we also use Bubble.io. But yeah, we use more Zyno and WeWeb because, as I mentioned before, we have full stack developers, so it's easier for a developer that uses React and Node.js to then use like separate backend and front end no code tools. So again, it allows us to mix and match technologies more easily.
And this is a B2B service that you offer to help kind of expand upon the abilities of other businesses. Could you talk about your value proposition?
So we focus only on building B2B digital products, and we divide them into let's say three different sections. So we work with the startups and venture builders to help them launch their MVPs faster. Then the second use case is we work with already established companies, um, usually service companies or consultancy companies that they already have a running business, but they deliver a lot of things via email, with Excel, and it's very cumbersome. So outdated processes, and we transform those processes into tech, and a lot of times that tech is actually a SaaS. So an example would be we work with a family office that manages wealth for families, and invest for them. And before they had all the reporting, all the calculations on an Excel spreadsheet. So they decided, okay, why don't we create a SaaS that allows us to deliver much better service to our clients, also make it much more easy for us to manage, and why don't we offer this as a SaaS? And that's what they did. So out of a successful business, you can create a SaaS that not only works for you, but then you can replicate for others. And the third use case is to work also with this type of companies, but more to develop internal applications that help them work better. Yeah, and basically, yeah. Usually, I say that you can do more while not. You can scale your operations with tech and not with headcount. Like there's a lot of companies that get to a point where adding more people, it's not going to increase that much the output because if you have 15 people in a company that are managing everything in Excel spreadsheets and then you put 20, it's like you're just putting more people in the middle of the chaos. And if you don't fixing that chaos, you don't need those 5 extra people, and everyone becomes also happier at work, because we are in a day and age that I think no one wants to be copying, data from, receives an email, copies data to a spreadsheet, does a calculation, copies that data, puts in another email, sends, and then the person sends feedback, like all those processes that are so manual. I think, yeah, that's what we as a company would like to eliminate.
You mentioned one particularly big challenge with kind of joining the company as a partner and then having a separation from your partner. Are there any like is there another kind of big challenge that you can talk to us about with running the business?
So when you're a small operation, and when you're starting out with the business, like first a lot of times you've never managed the business, right? So that was my case. I've been very close to people that manage the business, but I didn't actually manage myself, and things change. You think you know how to do things, and then when you get your hands dirty, then you see like, okay, you also have a lot to learn. So it's not easy a lot of times for you to know exactly what to prioritize and what to do before you actually try it. So you do your best, and you try with your best decision, best judgment to drive things. So in the beginning, you might feel a bit overwhelmed because you're a small operation. A lot of your team is more operational, and you're also operational yourself. But then you need to think about sales, marketing, but also like how do you manage actually fulfillment. And so there's a lot of different moving pieces that you need to think about. And for me, I like to think about an analogy. So like it's like if you're in the circus, those jugglers that are with a is that the name, jugglers, the ones with the balls,
Yeah.
right? So you throw one ball in the air. It's like, okay, sales. Oh, sales is now okay. We're getting some leads. Okay, so the ball is up in the air. But then you grab. Okay, now I have more sales. You grab this ball. It's like, okay, now you need to make sure that fulfillment is correct. And because you're holding fulfillment, like then when it's working, it's sales again that you need, because, oh, okay, now fulfillment is work, but I spent some time with that, so I didn't prospect as much as I should. So now I need. So your job in the beginning is a lot to move across these different areas where you need to prioritize and split your attention. So it's not easy, uh, but I would say with time it starts becoming easier,
Mhm.
if you're able to be successful in the way that you do it. um, so for me that was a bit of a challenge, but um, I think with time, if you start seeing, okay, if one of the things I always believed is you need to build a company efficiently. You need to be somehow process oriented, because um, it's a lot of you need to really like, okay, if you're doing sales, then you're like, okay, if I'm spending time now doing sales, I need to structure the process for doing sales. So what now takes me 1 week to do, next week in 3 weeks I can do it in 2 days, and I can then have more time to do something else. So that was always my perspective, like, okay, if I'm focusing on something, let me try and create systems and structure, so then I have the same output, but then I can dedicate to other things. So, and if you start building these building blocks, um, then things like, you start doing better sales, then the products are also going well, your marketing is also more aligned, that brings more sales, and you start having here an ecosystem that
Yep.
just allows you to grow a bit more and a bit more. And then it comes the point where it's like, okay, now it's not you doing those things. Now you need to start creating structure of people in the company that can do those things for you, and that also brings other challenges. So it's like that common challenge, and I think for a lot of founders, it's tricky. There's like, okay, how do you go from being operational and doing things like you think they should be done, to being more of a leader, where you need to manage a team so it goes in the direction that you want, but without things, you cannot make that things are done exactly like you would do them. So it's a change of shift para. So that also takes some work and some introspection and a lot of time, like, okay, how can I do this jump? So I would say, yeah, it's a difficult, I would say it's not an easy path, but it's very enjoyable in the sense of like you learning more about yourself and about people and how to create, because a company is in a way a network of people, right? It's like, how do you create a network of people that at the end delivers value? uh, and how how to navigate yourself through the different moments of that expanding network. It's I find it amazing. And now looking back, it's like it changes you as a person, even in your private life. So yeah.
Definitely. There's a lot of growth in the journey, and I think we each want to grow. And I think entrepreneurship is probably um, you're growing like constantly, and the more that you accomplish, the more you like. It's not like you arrive at a destination; it's just you arrive at the next level. Um, so it's kind of fascinating, and I think you have to love the process because it never ends.
True, but I think I would say with time it becomes a bit easier. For me, one of the things that was always a bit hard was the sense of responsibility, right? Uh, the responsibility of having to pay the salaries at the end of the month and making sure that like, because you spend a lot of time talking to people and trying to pass to them that you believe in the project, that you believe in what you're doing, that you're that you want also people to develop themselves and like bring this thing forward, and then that also brings you a responsibility that is okay, but then you should work, and I should make sure that it works, or we together should make sure so that, like, there's a lot of responsibility there. And also then the normal things that is like, okay, you have costs and you need to make revenue, and you hire a new person, and then you're like, okay, now I need to make sure that there's this amount of business coming in, so this is sustainable. So when you're working for someone else, it's like, yeah, okay, I didn't hit my sales target. Okay, my boss is not going to be happy, but it's fine. Uh, I'll tell him something and it'll be fine, or not. But even if not, you get out of that company. If the market is not too bad, you find another job and you go. So, like, the level of responsibility you have being an entrepreneur, it's quite high, and you really need to also learn how to deal with that. And I think it becomes easier with time because you've been through so many challenges, and then like a company when it's very on its early stage is very easy to go wrong. But after a bit that you are in the market, if you've done things in a consistent way and if you building it in a solid way, then you also have some breathing room to be able to deal with that responsibility a bit better. But also you are more experienced, and like, there's always ups, there's downs, like. But one thing is when you've been 3 months or 6 months or 1 year managing a company. Another thing is when you've been 3 years. Another thing is when you've been 20. That you've already been through, ups and downs in terms of economic cycles, ups and downs in terms of, your own growth of the company. And I really feel it's important to go through things to then become more comfortable.
Right. You mentioned rather than pursue perfection or the idea of perfection, just embracing the change and asking yourself, what could I do better from yesterday? Is that right?
I actually wrote on LinkedIn the other day. It was something that, I don't know. I was thinking about a topic and it came to me that it's like, and that's kind of like the way that I see building a company. That is like, the road to excellence is not perfectionism; it's continuous improvement. And I really believe in that. Like, I've seen so many people trying to do things perfect, and then the problem is they move very slow, or they are giving too much importance to things that are not that important. Like, uh, if you're starting out, it's normal that it's not perfect. But also, like, a lot of times you're starting out, also the prices that you charge are not very high. You also say, like, okay, I know my circumstance, so okay, you are with a lower offer in the market, and then people buy from you, and of course you make mistakes, but like there's kind of like this pact that, like, there's an agreement that you, and it's normal. Of course, like, if you're working with enterprise clients and there's a high expectation on the other side, like, you need to be as perfect, but even then it's like things are not perfect. I think it's much more about making sure that you learn with your mistakes, you also learn with your victories, and you make sure that as much as you can, you don't repeat the same errors in 1 month from now. And or next week. And if you do this on a constant basis, and if you really focus on this, I think the growth that you have is in terms of the way that you do things is it can be incredible. Because I think that if a company has this type of mindset compared to a company that doesn't have it, in a matter of a year, like the difference in terms of evolution of the people, the processes, the business itself, it's gigantic. Because if you're always looking at always the pixel correct, is the color, is it really the right color, or is it, like, like there's some things that are not that important at that point in time. So I think it's more focused on, of course, doing a great job, doing what is needed for your clients, but also understand like what's your stage of development, what's the stage of development, what's really important to deliver. Because perfectionism, like you never, like, it's one of those things you never really attain it, right? Because you can always search for it, but I don't know, for you perfectionism will be one thing, for me another, maybe for the client another. You never really know. So sometimes you're just spending a lot of time on that when you could be doing other things that are much more valuable.
Yeah, definitely. Well, naviu.tech, naviu.tech is the URL for your company. Is there anywhere else that you'd like to point us to follow along what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm quite active on LinkedIn. So yeah, if people search for Diogo Guerner on LinkedIn, they will find me. Those are our main two channels.
Okay, we'll put that link in the show notes. Thank you very much for sharing your journey with us. Dropped a lot of great insights, and very interesting what you're doing, building these digital products and just being agile. And I can see the kind of consistency with your entrepreneurial upbringing, your global perspective, and now you're living that with the digital world.
Thank you, David, for the invitation. It was great, and yeah, until next time.
Okay.